What's going on, guys? Gainz Gaming here, and today we are talking about one of the brand new commanders in Rise of Kingdoms, Hector, who is going to be a leadership, versatility, and support commander. Now, in this video, we are going to give you my first impressions and my first thoughts about what Hector is going to be good for in Rise of Kingdoms, and potentially if you should consider investing into him. If you guys are new here, I am a sponsored content creator for Rise of Kingdoms. So if you have not yet subscribed and you enjoyed this video, feel free to do so, completely free for you, and helps me out tremendously. Now, like we said, Hector is a leadership, versatility, and support commander, and his skill looks like this. I like how they add the skill into these releases now as well. So is he actually going to be worth investing into? Well, there's a couple things that we need to talk about here first. Now, again, he is leadership, so that is something that you have to take into consideration. Typically, leadership commanders are not that great, but they have been a little bit better in the past. So his first skill, the shepherd of his people. This is a rage requirement of 1000, so pretty typical. It is a single target damage. That's important as well. This skill's effect depends on the talents of the primary commander of this commander's troop. So immediately you know this is a secondary commander. You do not use him primary. If your primary commander is infantry, then Hector is going to deal smite damage to a target troop, damage factor of 2600, and for the next 3 seconds, up to 5 nearby allied and friendly troops take 5% less damage. Okay, that's okay. It's not bad. For cavalry, you will launch 2 combo attacks against a target troop, damage factor of 1400, so 2800 damage factor, I would assume, because you're doing 2 combo attacks. For the next 3 seconds, up to 5 nearby enemy troops take 5% more normal damage. And then if it is, I'm assuming, siege or archers or a mixture, it will deal direct damage to a target troop, damage factor of 2700, and for the next 3 seconds, up to 5 nearby enemy troops deal 5% less damage and lose 45 rage, 15 rage per second. So that's pretty interesting. I would honestly like to see how this works with siege, because I mean, I don't really know how that would work, to be honest, but that'd be kind of interesting. I don't know if that would actually take effect. We'd have to test that out. Maybe Mr. Siege will test that out. But what are my first impressions of this? Well, I think immediately the better option is probably going to be cavalry. And the main reason why, just because combo attack damage is going to pair with combo attack commanders, which is what we're going to be getting here in the future. And spoiler, we will be having another video on Achilles. If you have not checked that one out yet, it is either not posted or you should go check it out right now. But we'll also be talking about Achilles in a separate video, but he will be a cavalry combo attack damage commander. So that is important. You can use these 2 commanders together. So I think the cavalry option is probably going to be the best option, because up to 5 nearby enemy troops taking 5% more normal damage doesn't just buff your Luce and your BQ and your smite damage commanders, but it buffs everything. So I think that is really, really nice. Being able to essentially debuff 5 enemy troops. You're not doing AoE in this damage, but you are debuffing AoE, which is important. So I think that is probably my first impression, that cavalry is probably the better option. Now his second skill, beneath the Sakane Gate, probably butchered that. This commander's troop gains 20% march speed, okay, 10% health, and 30% defense. Now, the thing with this is, obviously when you're using cavalry, you don't really need the extra march speed. You're already going to be plenty fast. The 10% health is okay, and the defense is actually nice because cavalry gear is a little bit low on defense. And obviously, if you guys know stats, the more stats you have of health, the less impactful additional health is going to be. It's just going to be less impactful. So that 10% health is going to be as great, but that 30% defense will be a little bit better. If it was 30% health and 10% defense, it would probably actually be worse for cav gear. But for infantry, the opposite would be true, because infantry gear is more favored toward defense. So again, the more stats you have of something, the less additional stats will impact it, if that makes sense. If that doesn't, comment down below. I'll clarify more. But under this third skill, favored of Apollo, this commander's troop takes 10% less normal damage. And when attacking a troop on the map, so anytime you're in the field, one of the following effects will trigger based on the talents of their troop's primary commander. If it is infantry, whenever the troop deals smite damage, there's a 50% chance the damage will be increased by 15%, and it can trigger up to 3 times per second with a 10-second cooldown. A 10-second cooldown is pretty substantial, but increasing that damage by 15% could be pretty nice, especially if you're pairing him with Luce or BQ. That could actually be really good. If it is cavalry, whenever the troop launches a basic attack, it has a 20% chance to launch an extra combo attack damage with 400 damage factor, and it can trigger up to 3 times per second. Now, when I said that cavalry is probably the best option for Hector, this is one of the biggest reasons why, in my opinion. Even though, yes, you have a lower chance of it happening, a 20% chance, doing that extra combo attack damage, that is phenomenal. That is fantastic because it can trigger up to 3 times per second. That does not mean it's going to trigger 3 times per second because you have that 10-second cooldown, but it increases the chance of that happening. So pretty much every single time you're doing a basic attack, you're probably going to be doing that extra combo attack with that 400 damage factor. So it's pretty much just automatic damage that you're going to be getting, basically an instant proc for Hector. At least that's the way I'm reading it. If you guys interpret that differently, let me know down below. And if it is not infantry or cavalry, so if it's archers or potentially siege, whenever the troop inflicts a debuff on an enemy troop, it takes 5% less damage for the next 10 seconds. This effect can stack up to 2 times, and its duration resets whenever it gains another stack. So that's not as substantial. Yes, taking up to 10% less damage for 10 seconds is really, really nice, but how often are you going to be inflicting that debuff? That's going to be debatable. Obviously depends on who you're pairing him with, but taking 10% less damage, that is nice, but if you're trying to do more damage in the field, that's not giving you a whole lot. It does help because he's not the tankiest commander. Yes, you have that extra 30% defense, 10% health, but this will help with his tankiness if you are using him as an archer commander. But like I said, I think cavalry, so far, at least looking into this, is the best option for him. Now onto his fourth skill, Valiant Mortal. If this commander's troop is attacking a troop on the map, if their troop's primary commander has the infantry or cavalry talent, so either or, every second their troop has a 50% chance to gain a 20% bonus to normal damage for the next 5 seconds too. That's insane with a 7-second cooldown. But normal damage, if you didn't know, it says it right below. This includes basic attack, counterattack, smite, and combo attack damage. That's insane. This does not apply to ranged normal damage, however, just basic normal damage, but that includes both smite and combo attack damage. So 20% bonus to smite and combo attack damage is crazy. And then otherwise, if you use them as an archer, every second their troop has a 50% chance to gain a 30% bonus to skill damage for the next 5 seconds with a 7-second cooldown. That is also pretty substantial if you're using him as an archer. So that's kind of crazy. I think this skill overall is pretty insane. And now moving on to his expertise. If this commander's troop contains only one unit type, it deals 10% more damage. And if their troop contains at least 2 unit types, it takes 10% less smite, combo attack, and skill damage. So again, if you're using him as a full cavalry, dealing 10% more all damage, that's pretty crazy. Same with infantry, that's going to be great. If you're aiming for more of a tanky archer, then maybe doing like a mixture. I don't really know if you want to do a mixture, but you're going to be taking less damage overall. Again, it's pretty tanky actually if you are splitting this up as an archer or as a multi-unit march. I mean, that could be a pretty tanky march, taking just overall less damage. But I think using one unit type to deal 10% more all damage, that's fantastic. Even if it's full archer, you're still doing 10% more all damage. That's pretty crazy. So again, what are my overall thoughts? Is he a must invest commander? I personally am not entirely sold on him, and the biggest reason why is because we will be having more cavalry commanders coming in the game very, very soon, probably within the next couple of months. So with that being said, I would probably pump the brakes on investing into any of these new commanders because they could be replaced immediately with even better cavalry commanders. So I think I would definitely hold off on this. I think this reminds me of Ragnar Prime, and not like how his skills work, but just when the release of Ragnar Prime came out with the new KVK format, King of All Britain, everyone was like, holy crap, this commander is amazing. and now not so much because he was a KVK format commander, was fantastic in that KVK, and has kind of fallen off since. I made videos on this. Some people disagree, a lot of people agree, but that's my take, is that it's not really worth investing into those KVK specific commanders such as Ragnar Prime and now such as Hector and Achilles. But we'll be talking about Achilles in a separate video, so make sure you check that one out as well. If you guys enjoyed this one, comment down below what you guys think about Hector. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more Rise of Kingdoms content. Appreciate you all for being here, and I'll see you guys in the next video.